welcome. My name is Molly Mendoza, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Integrative Psychology Institute. I will take just a couple of moments to share a little snippet as to why this program exists before passing you on to our amazing teachers and our leaders within this school. It's nice to see that I've actually met many of you already in Practice Lab. My journey began studying philosophy and logic, and eventually yoga and Eastern tradition for about 10 years, which led me then to the path of dance and somatics. And my experience of seeking healing and transformation and growth within many diverse therapeutic modalities often led me to a place of feeling that something was missing. All of these modalities were really impactful in revealing a part of myself, and yet was not necessarily always touching the places within me that I knew I wanted to unravel or acknowledge and eventually resolve. And along this journey, I was really lucky to meet some of the inspiring people who I can now call my close friends, to establish a mission of developing both a philosophy and an embodied modality and approach which would truly be the antidote to the recognition that many of the traditional psychological and applied forms of therapy were not always capturing the fullness of what it means to be human. And that is part of what led us all, I hope, here today. And so right now, what is inspiring me most about this journey is that the focus is on how we can become an embodiment of the service that we wish to offer the world. And we're doing this while simultaneously really devoting ourselves to our own inner experience of embodiment and connection and association to what it is to be here and alive and human and relating in so many facets, always, every day. And so it is quite a simple recognition, somewhat of a simple antidote, and it's brought us all here, and it feels really revolutionary in my world at this point, and something that I feel very, very committed to. So this work has supported me to shift the way I relate to myself, to show up with different tools and frameworks within my work and in my relationships. And yeah, I feel really honored to be part of this journey with each of you and with the teachers that we get to work with and the leaders that we get to work with, and to hopefully get to know each of you as we go on this journey. I'll be leading Practice Lab each week, which will be an opportunity to integrate more of the overarching philosophy and embodied understanding of the teachings. And I'll also be supporting in coordinating the master's in-person immersion, and will be present during that journey with all of you as well. So yeah, many more things I could say, and I'm going to pause and pass over to my dear friend Adam. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Molly, and welcome everyone. It's truly the deepest honor to welcome you all here. I know that for many or most of you, this is a really big, important moment in your life. I've had the opportunity, the pleasure really to do many of the application interviews, and I've gotten to know the stories and the intentions behind you being here. I've heard stories of perseverance. I've heard stories of overcoming struggle, and left many of them feeling deeply inspired and just excited to work with you all. I want to honor that intention. I want to shed light on that intention of taking our own personal challenges and transforming them into our own growth, and then also growth in sharing in other people. I think ultimately that's what this process is about. We see this process as somewhat of an initiation into that very beautiful life mission. We started integrative psychology because we believe that education is sacred. When we started developing this paradigm of psychology, we were talking about how the ideas that we learn become the grooves that form our thoughts, which become the seeds of our behaviors, which become the foundation for our relationships. And really, education is so important to us. And I hope that you all feel how much intentionality and love and care has gone into the design of this program. My career has been a series of these big, crazy ideas. And one thing that I've learned about big, crazy ideas is that In order to make them work, you have to have an absolute all-star team. And every person on this call, on the leadership team and across our organization, I truly have the deepest respect for. And I not only respect, but a love for and a friendship with. And I know that each of you will feel the same. Everyone on this call, I feel, could lead their own 18-month program. And to have everybody here together holding this space for this group feels just truly an honor to be a part of. I want to talk a little bit about our culture, the culture that we work very hard to create. Education is so much more than just ideas being shared. There will be ideas on this program that you learn that unlock important insights for you. Of that, I have no doubt. But on another level, learning is deeply relational. If you read through the manual and you know a little bit about our history started from a group of friends, and our team, everyone on the call here, has become very close friends actually. And it can be surprising sometimes the way that we relate, because we relate to each other like friends or like family. That's been intentional, and it allows us to be who we truly are instead of having to show up in the space as some version of who we think that we need to be. And I'm saying that not to be cute and funny, but I'm saying that to give you an invitation into that culture, to be yourself fully here. That's a really important part of learning. We can't learn if we're trying to play some character in this classroom. And I know that there's a comfortability aspect to this that I hope over time we drop in so that you can truly feel like a full reflection of yourself. The second part of our culture that I feel protective of is the nature of service. It honestly, the dynamic of higher education always confused me, because it felt I never understood why I'm trying to prove to this person to certify me or give me a degree or in something. And I want to just be very clear about this, that you as a student are not here in service to us. You are not in service to some idea of some psychology mission that we have in the world. Everyone on this call, is here in service to you and who you want to become, and the person and the practitioner that you are trying to become. That service mentality, we hope, becomes the spirit that you also embody to pass on to the people that you serve as well. Another thing I want to say is that you guys are part of the first cohort of this degree, which I want to thank you for, because there've been moments during the interviews that I've almost literally been moved to tears, and hearing people say that I've been looking for a degree for years and years and not being able to find the right one, and having this reaction of almost that this feels too good to be true. Um, and and also the acknowledgement that this is a new program. And in that, I want to ask for just a little bit of forgiveness on aspects that may not go ideally, particularly on the technology side. We were I used to work in technology, and the technology and the course management space is like very tricky. But if there's anything, there's things that may not go as planned or might be less than ideal in your eyes. I just ask for a little bit of forgiveness, and also the understanding that we are deeply, deeply present with this training at all moments, and that when we will leave ample moments for you, the students, to give feedback so that we direct the course. That is something, the presence from us is something that you should expect throughout. Yeah, the last thing I'll say before I pass it on to Niki is that this this journey is ultimately about who you become. It's about embodying these both ancient wisdom and modern teachings, and to me that is, all of those moments are the greatest gifts of my life, and the things that we embody are truly the greatest gifts, because nobody can take them away from you.
Hey, you guys. Before I introduce myself, I just want to say that I still get nervous when I talk in front of people in person and particularly on Zoom. which surprises me every time, and it still happens. And all I'm doing is telling you who I am, and I know that. And still, it creates those like butterflies and the jitters, but it means I care. The second thing I'm going to tell you is I cry at almost every single orientation in some sort of academic setting, which is really weird. Um, but I do that because you, oh, look, it's starting. I do it because this matters, right? Like, this is a master's program, and maybe you'll go on and do more. But this is transformational. You're moving through a portal into this new world, and you're going to come out on the other side a completely different, more evolved, transformed, elevated, more knowledgeable, embodied version of yourselves. And that's a huge deal. So I had to acknowledge that because I'm still a student. I may be until I die because I'm addicted to it. Um, I am the Dean of Academic Programs for this master's program. My job is to um, create curriculum and to walk you guys through this in as seamless a way as possible. And also to talk to and relate with the powers that be, but still maintain the integrity. We are trying to shift paradigms here and trying to create something different, something that's new and something that's embodied. So trying to hold all of that for you guys while also being a core instructor. So that's where I fall in this realm. A little bit about my background is I studied psychobiology at UCLA. I was going to become a neurosurgeon, but then I had to pay my bills. So I dropped the biology, kept the psychology, and then went on to get my master's degree in humanistic and transpersonal psychology with a concentration in consciousness, spirituality, and integrative health. And that's where I started to notice where academia could use some updating. Because when I was in that program, which was the humanistic and transpersonal one, so it was definitely different than your typical traditional psychology program, I still felt like they were trying to get me to fit into a mold, and there wasn't enough room for me to just be who I was. They didn't give me the scaffolding and then say, okay, do whatever you can do here. And that's when I started dreaming of this world of embodied academia and embodied scholarship. And how can we show up as our full selves um, in these academic spaces? I also felt like I had a master's degree, but I also didn't really belong anywhere. I felt like I didn't really belong with the psychologists, right? But then I felt like I had kind of outgrown some of the previous spaces. So there was this liminal space of not really knowing where I belonged. I was at the intersection of so many things. And I decided to go back. And I'm in a doctoral program right now, a few steps away from candidacy in the same field, humanistic and transpersonal. Um, but I went back with the idea of saying, okay, so then my research, my work, my dissertation, all of it is going to be based around embodied academia. And even my research methodology will be heuristic self-search inquiry, which is a very embodied and transformational way of doing research. So that's my background. But what I hope to do with it was to come back to academia and shift something and enter Integrative Psychology Institute. And when I synchronistically fell upon this group of amazing people, I was like, oh, there are other people who want to do what I want to do. So this is so much better than trying to do it all by yourself. So I I have full confidence that this team that I get to work with so much, even on Sundays. I have confidence that this team, that we all want the same thing, that we're all really moving in the same direction. I'm here because I know we can do better in academia. And I'm glad that you guys are here and along for the ride. And so now I'm going to send it over. Um, I mean, she's a force. She's a force in academia. She's a force wherever she goes. She can't help it. But Hala, Khouri.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm being so moved hearing everybody talk. Hi, everybody. I am Hala. I have met a lot of you before in our psychosomatic practitioner training. I loved hearing your journey, Nikki, because I similarly had always felt sort of alone in my academic journey. Um, I, since a young age, wanted to study psychology. And when I went to a fancy Ivy League school to study psychology, I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed in the classes. They didn't feel like they had anything to do with understanding humans. It was so disembodied. And so I like opted out of the mainstream academia world. I could have probably gone on to more Ivy League fancy pants education and instead went to Pacifica Graduate Institute, which I was hoping would offer a lot more of an embodied education. And I got a really beautiful master's degree there in counseling psychology, but they still weren't teaching somatics. It still wasn't a thing. This was 20 years ago. And so I had to piece together my education through all these like fringe workshops. Some would be amazing, some would be super creepy and cultish. Like I didn't know. And I was just trying to find my teachers. I found some incredible teachers along the way. But in some ways, it felt kind of solo, right? I tapped into some communities, but I didn't find my people. And I trained in somatic experiencing, which was really powerful. And you all are going to be getting a lot of that from me. I'm one of the faculty members. You'll be doing a lot of your clinical trainings with me, talking about trauma, embodiment, and attachment. But back to like my own journey, I went back and got a second master's degree in community psychology in 2014 because I really wanted to start to understand the context of well-being outside of just our individual well-being. And that was a really beautiful program, but it didn't prepare me to do anything. Like we all left that program completely unemployed. I was already employed doing what I was doing, but the program did not help me see how I could actually utilize this to help the world and get a job. And what I really, really appreciate about the way that this program is being architected is it's both being architected with your well-being, your embodiment, your journey in mind, and also what does this mean for your capacity to support others? This translates into your purpose and this translates into your business. And part of our opportunity right now as healers and as therapists and as coaches is we have an opportunity to get folks to us directly. We don't have to be bound to an institution or an organization. And that's incredible. And when I look back at my journey, that's exactly what I did. I personally opted out of licensure because I found the system to be so broken and so disembodied that I utilized my platform as a pretty visible yoga teacher. That was how people found me. So I didn't have to go online and create a business, but I was doing that already. And that allowed me the privilege of getting to work with people outside of an institution. And for some of you, that is going to be your pathway. So this is an innovative program. Like Adam said, you are our first cohort. So you all are actually helping to shape this entire program. Your feedback matters, your experience matters, your giving us grace matters. The fumblings won't be in your coursework or the pedagogy, they will be logistical ones. And also with the pedagogy, your feedback will help evolve it. This is a living system. We are not interested in creating something that is dogmatic and stubborn and doesn't change. This program will evolve, and you all are inaugurating that with us. And so many of us on this call, as you've heard, we've had to blaze our own trail, and we are now doing it together in community. And because of that, we also get to practice giving each other feedback, talking about our experience in a way that is skillful, knowing that it's going to be clunky, but that's good. Whenever I work with clients who are trying to get back into their bodies and heal, I always like to say, whether we're talking about our personal healing or collective healing, It's like adolescence. It's awkward. When you're changing and healing and growing, it's awkward. And if it's not awkward, you're not changing and healing and growing. So now we are doing it together. We are doing it together in as an institution and as a cohort. So um, I'm so thrilled to be here with you. And one last thing about my journey is I was like a semester away from getting my PhD and then dropped out. I've never dropped out of anything. I've never gotten lower than a B plus in a class. And I just dropped out because I was like, I don't understand. This whole thing does not feel connected to my purpose at all. And to get to be part of an institution that wants every step of your journey to be meaningful, and to serve you is so excited. So I'm excited to be here to serve you all. I'm so thrilled to be with this team that is such innovators in this work. I want to say one other thing to you all. Niki was talking about embodied scholarship, right? Part of how you will make this meaningful is also connecting with each other. Get together, relate around the material. Don't just rely on us. We are creating opportunities for you to be together, but take initiative. One of the challenges of online learning is you're not going to bump into somebody in the hallway or suddenly have this interaction. So we need to make it happen. So if you see somebody who's like in your area or says something that sparks you, send them a private message, ask to connect, ask if they're comfortable sharing their email. We have to make those connections happen, and that'll really be like the magic fairy dust on your experience is what you take initiative to create with each other. I'm supposed to pass it on to Dr. Hazel, but I don't know if she's on.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dr. Hazel had a loss in her family this week, so she's not going to be joining us. I want to just quickly give her an introduction. Sarah is one of the most intelligent and inspiring and experienced functional medicine doctors that I've ever met in my life. She was my doctor actually for a time. She has done just about everything in functional medicine. She's been a clinician. She's been an educator. She was a dean of a school a naturopathic medicine school in Arizona. And when we were architecting the biological component of our curriculum, it was a challenge because on one sense, objectively, we now know and understand how important biology is and our physical health is to our mental health. And it's also something that is tricky to teach, and it's tricky as practitioners to put into a scope as a therapist. So our instructions for Sarah on this course was to pretend that you are running a group functional medicine course for a group of our 40 students, with each of them being your client, helping them optimize their own biology, their own brain, and their own nervous system using functional medicine throughout the degree. So you can think of Sarah as like she's kind of like our concierge doctor, and she's a fantastic teacher, and you'll be getting credit for that course as you do that. That is going to start next month. That's going to start in October. And with her, you'll have a session once every month, which will be, we haven't put those in the schedule yet, but we will get that. We will get those very soon. So starting in October, you guys will have a once a month group session, and she'll have protocols to share with you.
So we want to hear from you all. If we had time, we would unmute each person and get you each to do a thorough introduction. We would be here for like 3 days. So I want to start by just taking a little poll. And so as we're doing this again, I want you to identify, ooh, this other person, is in this field. Like start to find your people, although you're going to find that everybody here is your people. We're a very self-selected group. But I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you can use your reactions to uh, to raise your hand to answer this poll. And then we're going to see who's here. So I want to find out the different spaces you all are already in or want to be working in. So this is just our first. So how many of you here are in or wanting to be working in healing and mental health? So whether it's in a coaching capacity, in a therapeutic capacity, and I think this is going to be a lot of you, but just healing and mental health coaching. We're just going to see all the hands that go up. Okay, so just take a look. Thank you. You can bring your hands down. How many of you here are in or want to be in movement spaces? So you're a movement teacher, breath work, even we'll say meditation, like you are taking people through these more class-based, right? You're giving classes, you're taking people through movement, meditation. So take a look at your people, right? Excellent. Thank you. You can bring your hands down. Who here is working in education or wants to work in education? So schools, K through 12, universities, educators, anybody in that field or wanting to work in that field? Adam. Yay. All right. Thank you. You can bring your hands down. How many of you here are, now we're going to get just a little bit more specific, working in addiction recovery spaces? That's your jam. That's why you're here. I want you to now start putting into the chat the different kinds of spaces or capacities that you want to work in or are working in. Anything I did not mention, I just did the broad ones. Type that into the chat. We want to see who's here. And then in a moment, we're going to see where you all are located. So you can find each other. Chronic health issues. Thank you. Okay, good. That should have been a category that I asked. Working people in chronic pain. So start to identify one another, right? Oh, body workers. I forgot to ask about body workers. Let's do the poll for body workers because I know that's a big one. How many body workers do we have in this space? And I'm not going to read everything, but this will be up here. You all can glance at it, see who are some of the folks that you want to connect with. Grief work, right? We've got a couple people doing grief work, narrative therapy, education. Yep. So here's my second question to you. I want to hear a little bit. What we'll do is I'm going to invite you to share into the chat, and then we're going to hear from a few people because we'd love to bring some of your voices into this space. But I'm really curious in a sort of a brief way, what brought you to this program and what are you most excited about? What are you most excited about? So take a moment to think about this. What brought you to this program? What are you feeling most excited about for yourself in this journey, about this program? You can type it into the chat whenever you like. And then we'd love to hear from a few people, maybe 2 or 3 people. If you want to raise your hand, what brings you here? Tell us what you're stoked about. We'd love to hear from you. You can hit the raise hand icon because I can't see everybody, so I might miss you if you're not on my screen and you're physically raising your hand. Who wants to share? Michelle.
Good morning. I am super excited about this program. My history is I'm a massage therapist. I have a bachelor of chaplaincy. I work in a treatment center doing massage therapy with addiction clients, and I'm also a trauma and healing life coach. And so to look at searching for any sort of program that brings the mind, body, and spirit together, like we can take care of whole human beings instead of issues that people may have, that just thrills me to no end. So thank you guys for putting this together.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Michelle. Thank you. Who else? What are you excited about? What brings you here? You can hit the raise hand icon. Let's hear from a couple more people. Joseph.
Yeah, I did a 4-year study at a private somatic institute in New York City. Love the somatics, the embodied. That's a particular approach in somatics. It's core energetics. It's helped me so much. Big history of trauma growing up, so it was so helpful. So to add breathing, to add somatic experiencing, to add internal family systems, in how do you say it? Parts work, all of that's so rich, and then a pathway that I can actually see an end for it. Very cool. So very cool. And I like the energy of the people of all of you, the people behind it, and of course want to be out there and serving, both in servant leadership, but also learning from people, holding space and making an impact.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Think I'm most excited about being part of like the future of higher education. I was a management consultant for 10 years in healthcare and higher education spaces, and trying to change them from the inside out was just like so challenging. Like, am I really making a difference? How do we get there? So to be here in a space where we're shaping kind of the intersection of that in the future, I think is really beautiful, and I'm excited.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Anybody else? Yes, Rebecca.
I'm sure a lot of you relate to this, but it feels like culturally we're at a bit of a tipping point where so many people are hungry for authenticity and presence and being willing to say the thing that everyone feels that no one wants to say, being willing to embody truth when it's easier to turn away. And so for my own journey, yes, but it feels auspicious to be at this point where the people around us need leadership and modeling of what that even looks like. So being able to feel like, I'm sure a lot of you sense that the qualities that may have been liabilities for you in the past in the educational system or your professional lives are actually now the thing that people are desperate for and hungry for. So that feels so important to lean into the sides of myself that I feel like I've had to hide that now are actually my greatest asset.
I really appreciate you saying that, Rebecca, too. And like a reminder that we're going against the grain and we're doing culture changing work here together. And that's the other reason we have to get good at like fumbling through it, because dominant culture messaging will come into our minds once in a while, right? And often. And so we want to keep supporting one another to like be in integrity and be really clear about our values. Thank you for naming that. Anel, is that how I say your name?
Yes, that's exactly right. Some people will be like, channel. I'm like, why do you think of me channel? But it's okay. So thank you for pronouncing it right. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And this just seems like an amazing opportunity to continue to apply the skills that I've been learning in this space for the last 7 years with my own healing and my own, coaching and investment of different like opportunities to really like because it's all about energy too. It's not just the education piece. It's the practical work and applying this knowledge and doing it with a community that sees this as the chance to transform education and this work. Like, I'm just so excited to be here with like-minded people and also have the education around it. So thank you so much for all the work that you've all been putting on to make this a reality, because wow, yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. We'll take one more. Evan.
Hi. I wasn't gonna raise my hand, but then, hearing everybody speak, I was just really attracted to the program when I learned about it. I've applied to multiple psychology programs over the last 20 years and never followed through. And I've studied nutrition and yoga. And actually, I have to say, Hala, when I saw your name on the curriculum, that was it for me, because I felt like, oh, this program is legit when I saw your name, because I remember you from Sacred Movement. And
I remember you too.
good, I'm so glad. I've trained in a billion types of yoga and meditation, and I have a very deeply spiritual practice, but now that my daughter's 17, I'm just really ready to share what I've learned. And I just was obsessed with the integrative aspect of the curriculum. And I'm just really excited to meet some new people and learn and hopefully really help people. So
Thank you, Evan. It's so good to see you.
thank you.
Oh my gosh, y'all, this was so amazing. I'm gonna have you do one more thing before we pass it off. in the spirit of embodied learning, if you're comfortable and you want to, under your name, add the city and state you live in. So you can look around and be like, oh my gosh, we live in the same city. I want to help you identify people that you can maybe get together with in an embodied way. If you're not comfortable doing that, please, you don't need to. But I just want to make it really easy for you all to find each other in case you never know. One of you might be like 2 blocks away. So again, I really want to encourage you, whether it's virtually connecting with people or in person. Yeah, you can type it into the chat. You can put it in you can rename yourself. My heart feels so full. I am going to pass this on to Jeremy, who's such an important part of this team. Jeremy, take the mic.
Thank you, Hala. Thanks, everyone. Wow, I would much prefer to keep listening to the stories from everyone, and that was so sweet to hear. I'm having a really beautiful moment because I had the pleasure to do so many of these interviews alongside Adam, and now like you're here, I'm like, oh, they made it. I had this wonderful call and got to hear the stories, and then you don't really know what's going to happen, and so it's just so sweet to really look around the room and see everybody who made it here. And yeah, really echoing a lot. I'll try to keep it short. I know we've done a lot of intros already, but just echoing the gratitude and spirit of service that I feel that our whole team feels here to you to be here. And when I went to school, my undergrad was in psychology because I knew I always wanted to help people. But like you've heard a few times, I didn't really have a clear vision of what I wanted to do with it after that. And it felt incomplete to me and disembodied, as Hala said. I fell into yoga, like many folks in the room and many of our teachers. What a beautiful way to be in service and to help people. And through that calling, I was very fortunate to do my foundational studies in India for many months. And I remember having this perspective when I was studying there that I got to step away from sort of the Western capitalist, stressed out, anxiety riddled hustle for one of the first times in my life to just see from a bird's eye view. And I really wanted to come back into this culture, our culture, and help people deal with just the everyday stress and anxiety and mental health. And yoga was a really beautiful way to do that. And when I landed in the Bay Area, I started to work with a lot of tech companies who were offering wellness programs there. And what that taught me in my journey was this ability, this need to like synthesize esoteric, powerful, deep philosophy into an accessible, actionable way for modern folks and to be that bridge. So developing wellness programs out here in the Bay Area for companies really helped me to step into more of a space of education. And so part of my role here with that as the educational director really is to help synthesize and deliver the magic and the beauty from our teachers into a format, into a way that is actionable and easy to digest and powerful for the students, and sort of to be that bridge. So that's a little bit about my journey and what brought me here. And I think we shared a lot about sort of what we're doing differently. I kept saying in these interviews, we hope to be a little disrupting both to higher education and to the mental health space, to do things a little bit differently, to make the path a little easier and accessible, and to bring more people in service out into the world that way. So as I speak, and we'll get into sort of our curriculum and pass it back to Niki in a bit, I want to share some of the ways that I think that our program is scaffolded a little bit differently as well. And you'll see in your first couple courses, which is the Introduction to Integrative Psychology and with Niki and Hala's clinical skills, we were really intentional about choosing programs that we're going to develop, or choosing courses that we're going to develop the how and give a system before the what, and just throw a bunch of different topics and fields of study at you. This is important, and it follows the science of adult learning because it gives a framework. So you have a framework of how you're thinking about combining modalities in integrative psychology. You have a framework of how you're thinking about running client sessions before we've gotten into a lot of the other deeper work of trauma or existential philosophy and some of those, so that that content actually becomes stickier when you learn. You have a vehicle, so to say. You sort of have a vehicle, and then you're going to be able to draw in these subjects in your vehicle. Oh, this makes sense here. This makes sense here. Versus just starting with sort of scattered topics and not necessarily knowing how to use them and learning that framework at the end. So we're delivering the program with a how a little bit ahead of the what. And this also is in line with our approach of embodied learning, because we really want to encourage and empower y'all to either elevate or accelerate your existing coaching or therapy practices, or to be able to begin one quickly. And you'll see in these two beginning courses with the foundations of integrative psychology with Niki, that you are starting to see the different frameworks and how you can apply that to yourself. Hala's course is also going to have a lot of embodied learning about your body being the GPS when you go into sessions. And so I just want to frame that as a way to think about the course as sort of the systems you're going to get, and then the specific knowledge and different topics and modalities are going to come plug into that system. And I think it's going to be really helpful. We encourage y'all to who are seeing clients and patients and people in your own practice to apply right away, to learn right away. We like to think about this sort of metaphor as the tree. And so this also like aligns with the roots being your embodied practice, your embodied practice and how you're taking care of yourself first, then the trunk, and the trunk becomes sort of your mastery, and the branches reach out to how you're addressing and supporting your clients. So we're going to begin with embodied practice, like we said, with like Adam touched on, with a concierge, integrative medicine to help really optimize ourselves so that we can show up in the best way for the people that we're in service to as well. So that's a little bit about the program, a little bit about me, and you'll get to receive sort of your login and how-to information into Canvas this week. We didn't want to do too much technical sorting through and screen sharing and doing all that. We're going to send a Loom, a video. It'll be really easy. We're really enjoying this new platform, Canvas. I think it's both really elegant, simple, and sophisticated. That will support your learning process. So you'll get to see everything there. It's pretty intuitive. So that information will come to help you get onboarded this week. And I think that's it for me. I'm going to pass it to Niki, who's going to share a little bit more about the curriculum.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Jeremy definitely helps everything come alive. Otherwise, the ideas would just float out in space and they would never actually get to you. Okay, so to continue, Jeremy mentioned the tree metaphor. As Adam has said before, we love metaphors here and analogies and any kind of visual representations of anything. It just helps really everything land in your body. It helps it become integrated into a part of your life and not just words on a page. So to continue that metaphor, we want to think about this program as unfolding like a tree. So when we were putting everything together, we thought about that. Like, what do we need? What are the roots? How are we creating those? How are we creating a strong system? And then moving into a trunk. Like, this is really the bulk of where everything lands. And then we start to branch out. Once we have that structure and the anchor and the grounding in place, then we start to move into branches. Then we start to get leaves. Then we start to flower, right? But we want to move everything up in this really beautiful and this really important way, this really really curated way. So we're going to start with our roots, and that's going to be things like Foundations of Integrative Psychology, which Jeremy mentioned, Clinical Skills 1 with Hala. And even though it's called Clinical Skills 1, what we really mean is you're doing things. So every time you hear clinical skills, it doesn't mean like metal tables and white clothing. It means you're getting in there. You're practicing, you're working with people right away. And then that's also when your functional health ongoing course will start. So that's to support you, by the way. that course isn't necessarily about you learning how to give that information to other people. It's giving you more of an idea how to support yourself and then recognize things in other people, right? So it's just really, I never had that in any of my master's programs or doctoral programs. So this is going to help ground you guys so that your lives don't kind of get away from you and all you're doing is kind of working and going to school and working and going to school. It'll really keep you grounded and help you take care of yourself. So this part of our program isn't super flashy, but it's what's going to sustain everything else moving forward. Once we start to get into the trunk, we're going to be bringing in classes like Clinical Skills 2, Relational, and Narrative. I know someone in the chat talked about reauthoring, so we're going to start moving into some of this, Human Development, Trauma, and Attachment. And really a cornerstone of our program, this is where we're going to introduce our business course, our first one, Building a Client Base. That's really important because we told you guys that you were going to be able to start doing things. Right. So we really designed this program with that in mind. And I want to pause here just for a second. I'll get back into my metaphor in a second. But because Adam is going to be spearheading the business courses, I'm going to give him a moment to talk about the business course.
Yeah, I wanted to just double click on the business portion for a moment here. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce 3 of our mentors who we have here today. Our business portion is something that happens concurrently to your work here. I encourage everyone to look at it not as I'm taking this 9-week course. I encourage you to look at it as this is week 10, quarter 2, when we start that course is the initiation point of you starting your client practice. I said this to many of you on the interview. The mindset that I'll invite you to take on during this program is that you are going to pay off this degree through your coaching work while you are on the degree. I want to say that again, and I'm going to just notice how that lands in your body. That you will pay off this degree by the time you finish the degree. You might feel a little bit of focused intensity in that statement. It's a bold statement. I also want to acknowledge that that won't be the case, and that does not need to be the case for everybody on the group. But I found that I found that to be a helpful mantra for us in making this degree very, very practical. Your one-on-one mentoring will begin at the beginning of 2026. And I want to take a moment to introduce our 3 mentors here. We selected 3 mentors who are actively in coaching or therapy practice, who I think each have a little bit of a different focus. When we go into your mentoring, you will have the chance to choose one of the mentors, or you'll submit your preferences, and then we distribute them. Brittany, I'll ask you to start. Introduce yourself to the group and tell them a little bit about you and your coaching focus.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Adam. I am so excited to be here. My name is Brittany. I'm a mentor coach inside of this program. I live in Northern Canada. I'm a PCC ICF coach, and I gained over 500 coaching hours in a very short time. Since becoming a coach, not only have I got to coach clients one-on-one, but I've also had the opportunity to work as an assistant trainer and mentor coach in many different programs, including getting to work in Spain in person as a coach inside of a program for young adults. I first launched my coaching business in my personal Instagram stories, coached anyone and everyone I could, and built my entire business quickly through referrals and a lot of personal grit. I have a ton of coaching education, mainly focused in brain sciences such as NLP, parts, timeline, EFT. And that has allowed me to have this really beautiful blend of conscious discussion and subconscious transformation inside of sessions with clients. I am so very excited to get to know each of you on our calls and sessions together. And from this very moment forward, I'm holding so much space for your highest vision, all of yours at all times.
Thank you, Brittany. And when Brittany reached out to us from an Instagram post about looking for mentors, and I think one of the first things she said to me was that I built my whole business without a website. And I said, okay, you're in. That's exactly That's exactly the model that we want to put in front of our students, because she wasn't relying on her branding. She just did it from getting out and coaching a bunch in the beginning, which is what we're going to encourage you guys to do in the first part of this year. And next, I want to send it over to Ilana.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I was telling Adam, this is the program I wish I had 15 years ago when I was going back to grad school. I had a little bit of a roundabout way of getting here. I am a licensed therapist now. I've been in private practice for over a decade, but I started out after college really not wanting to go straight to grad school, didn't like the programs that were out there. I ended up in the entertainment industry doing publicity, then went to a completely opposite, got a massage therapist license and was working with a chiropractor. So really just kind of, I saw a lot of people in the comments saying they didn't want to really piece together their education, and that's absolutely how my path kind of took me, was just piecing together, following my interests. So I think you guys are all so lucky to have this program that's already put together for you. My practice is primarily around women's mental health. So I started my career in eating disorders, working in treatment facilities. Now I have a fully virtual private practice, and I work a lot with women struggling with autoimmune conditions. I saw a lot of chronic illness notes popping in there too. Still work with women working through eating disorders, disordered eating, anxiety. I'm trained in EMDR. I incorporate a lot of IFS. In my grad school, I went the narrative therapy route. So definitely a forever student, love to learn, love to get new skills, and I'm excited to share. It sounds like we have a lot of overlap, the students in here, a lot of similar interests. So just really excited to share. And I think the last little bit is that when I was going through grad school, there was so much, I think, fear mongering around you'll never make it, you'll never be successful in private practice. There was just so much missing in the business side of things. So I love that you guys are also getting how to build a business straight from the start. And I think you guys are all in really great hands, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Ilana. And next, I'll send it to Mandy.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm just really touched and feel the kind of excitement and aliveness just to be here witnessing everyone. And I'm a lifelong learner and kind of pieced together my education over a few decades. I'm a body worker by licensed, almost going on 20 years, and also a yoga teacher and kind of Ayurvedic coach. In 2012, I went to Pacifica Graduate Institute in a non-licensure route of depth psychology and myth, because I just really didn't want to get into the clinical mental health, and then went through a time of regretting that decision. And then now I'm back in yay, I didn't do that. And so I feel really, just excited at this time of where there are these programs such as this, where we are truly bringing together soma and psyche, which is, I think, what Pacifica was trying to do in that initial inception, but it wasn't quite landing yet. And so there was more of a intellectual understanding of psyche and soma, but there wasn't a lot of actual experiential practices around that yet. So it's just been really exciting to see the transformation and the union of that. And I'm also a somatic experiencing practitioner. I did that training and then continued on with Kathy Kane, who more works a lot with body workers in the somatic narrative and somatic touch work, which has been really, helped integrate my practice in a lot of ways. And so I have totally let go of, and which has been a big practice of boundary work for me, let go of the clients that I was working with more body work based and massage and yoga, and really just had to kind of own myself and bring myself forward in really what I wanted to do. And so now I've arrived at that and been doing it. And so it's been a really powerful, process of my own transformation of really bringing my own work forward, because we could have a many shingles on our door, but really it's our own unique life force energy, our own creative energy that's coming forth and fueling what we offer in our own life experiences. And I seem to be working with a lot of, because in Oregon, I think a lot of people that are wanting to integrate some of their psychedelic experiences, because of Oregon being legal in that way. And then also a lot of attachment relationship ruptures and how that really, abusive relationships really affect our bodies and our nervous system and our brain. So yeah, that seems to be more of my practice. That's filling my practice now. So really grateful to be here, really inspired, and just that I kind of was around when in the ethers of this program. So I just am so inspired that big ideas can come to fruition in the kind of earth element reality. So thank you.
The way that this will go is that in the business course that will start in Q2, we will be starting assuming that everyone is starting from scratch. I know that there are many of you in the room who are already working with clients. I think you'll find it helpful to kind of deconstruct the whole process from the beginning to see what adjustments you might need to make in your practice. I know there's also many of you who are, as Mandy mentioned, seeing clients in one capacity, but maybe moving them over to wanting to work in a different capacity. And so our goal is that by the end of year one, so by August, September of 2026, you have some regularity with clients coming to your practice. We're going to help you get a website set up. We're going to help you with branding. We're going to give you instructions for how to photograph yourself. We do all of this in so much detail. In the beginning, we don't focus so much on that in the beginning, because I think all the mentors here are examples of how it's more about who you become and how deep you go with your work, so that it's in your cells. And so you start to get referrals. That's what we're focusing on really in the first portion of the training, as opposed to, going out and trying to get a bunch of clients through fancy marketing and Instagram. We'll get there. We touch on all that later. That for me is the easy part. But in the beginning, it's really focused on the embodiment process. And then we will then have the second course, which we just moved to be in Q4, so that we'll be finishing all that by around the end of year one. As I mentioned, you will each select one of your mentors in January of 2026. You will have sessions with them, 6 sessions over the course of the year. And the intention of those is to be used to support you in starting a practice, but you can use that time in any way that you would like. That time is designed for you. And with that, I will send it back to Niki.
There I am. Hi, you guys. Thank you to all of our mentors for joining the team. I think this is a defining feature of this program. One of the things, this also is another thing that doesn't always happen in traditional academia. You sometimes, if you're lucky, fortunate, you stumble upon a mentor. You really just understand one particular teacher or professor, and then you attend their office hours enough. And if they, deem you worthy, then you get to spend extra time with them and you've got yourself a mentor. That's how I've had to do it. And I've been fortunate. So it's really nice that this is built into the program. It changes everything because you have someone to go to. And Hala and I and Jeremy, we're all still here. Even if we're not official mentors, we are also people that you can talk to about these things. So we really want you guys to know that you're not in this by yourselves, just trying to figure out how to make it work. It's very relational, and it's designed that way on purpose. Okay, so coming back to our tree metaphor, when we start to move into the branches, then we're going to get into subtle energetics. This is another course that is different from what you typically experience, much like the functional medicine, functional health course that runs throughout the length, the duration of the program. Human energetics will also start in Q3. And it will then run monthly throughout the duration of the program as well. So don't worry about the calendar and how to keep it all straight. We'll get that settled for you. But the idea behind doing it this way is that you actually get to spend time with the material. So it hopefully will go on to inform your practice or your coaching or your educational pedagogy, but it also can just be for you. Some of this can just be about your personal transformation. So that was really important for us. And we're going to get into ethics around this time. So this is a really important piece of creating a strong trunk. Who are you developing into as a practitioner? We'll also move into your third clinical skills course, which will be cognitive approaches. They will be integrative cognitive approaches. And so we'll talk about each course a little bit more in detail later, but not on this call today, but later in the program. But this is going to be more like your DBT, your CBT, ACT, mind body counseling, that kind of thing. And then also clinical skills 4, which will be existential and transpersonal. So that's a really important piece that we didn't want to leave out, because oftentimes the spiritual aspect gets left out of mental health. And it is extremely important in creating meaning and purpose. So we wanted to make sure that that was a part of the arc. We've already talked about your one-on-one mentoring that will begin. And then we start to move into the fruit. So we've created this really beautiful root system that's continuously nourished. We've moved into this strong foundational trunk, and we move into the branches. So now this is where we start to receive the fruits of our labors. This is where we're going to talk about couples and relational therapy. We can start to get really intricate here. We can start to talk about integrative approaches to anxiety and depression, right? Sexual health and healing, group therapy facilitation, and then of course the practicum, which actually starts earlier, because if you guys are seeing clients, that's going to count towards your practicum hours as well. Which is really important. Will save you guys a lot of time. And then a culminating project, which you guys will be working on throughout. So it's not some big, scary thing that we save until the end of the program, and then we ask you to deliver it to us. So that's how we've structured this program. I'm sure that you guys will have questions as the catalog gets released to you, the revised catalog. If you do, please reach out to us. Please reach out to me, reach out to Jeremy, reach out to Hala. We are here to answer all of your questions.
Yeah. Jeremy or Molly, is there anything else logistically that we should go over before?
Yeah, there's one important thing.
Announcement today.
Guys, I gotta go. Sorry. I have another call right now, actually. I gotta jump off.
It is completely unsurprising that the launch of the Masters, and Adam being the visionary that he is, actually landed on his birthday today. So maybe we can just send out a lot of love and a lot of gratitude for the fact, wow, Niki, how do you do the celebration? Yeah, for the fact that this has landed on a really, really special day. And not only is it Adam's birthday today, it was Niki's birthday yesterday. So there's a divine astrological alignment as to why we're all here in this moment with these leaders, these thought leaders, these embodied leaders who are holding us through this journey. And yeah, I didn't want to cry in like the first minute of orienting all of us, but I nearly did. And it's partially because of being able to work with a team who constantly push me to grow and push all of us to grow and inspire us to grow and create beyond the bounds of what we thought was possible to create. And actually, I feel this is in both Niki and Adam just such a value and such a leadership style that, yeah, is truly a spark. And so you're all going to get to know them deeply. And I just want to honor them from the bottom of my heart in this moment. Thank you for being the visionaries that you are and bringing this to life. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Jeremy, did you want to add anything before I kind of close it with a couple?
That's it. That's the beautiful. No, everyone go celebrate, eat cake, and have an amazing week. And we'll be following up with more registration stuff this week. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody.